Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to In Vino Veritas. I'm Anthony, and this is my talented co-host, the Master of Wine, Jeannie. And we're here to share with you everything about the wonderful world of wine. Now, there's a lot of different wines out there and a lot of different foods, but how do you match them together? Jeannie, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's some basic tips. You can go with red wine and meat, or white wine with fish, but that's really old school. And now we've come to the new generation where we're experimenting with lots of different seasonings from around the world. We have flavor profiles that range from very light to intense and powerful. So we're looking for a match between intensity to intensity, flavor to flavor. So if you have a butter sauce or a cream sauce and you have it with chicken or pork, it goes beautifully with white wine. So it's not the raw ingredient that's the most important, but the seasoning and the sauces.
Okay, but what about in Hong Kong? We like to order a lot of different dishes and do family style. What do I do then?
Well, in traditional Asian style family meals, you want a wine that's really versatile. And versatile wine means something that's refreshing. It cleanses between bites because every bite can mean a different combination of flavors. Because we have those roving chopsticks going in and out of chicken, fish, vegetables. Yes. And so here we go. Why don't we have a wine with great refreshing character and a lightness? Nothing too heavy, because heaviness always makes it very difficult to challenge with food. So versatile styles include Pinot Noir from all over the world. It could include Pinot Gris, a very light, elegant white that goes with many different dishes. So there's some basic tips.
Great tips on how you can enjoy food with wine. Learn more on In Vino Veritas. Having a glass of wine is already an enjoyment, but it's a real treat to enjoy a good glass of wine, especially when sharing it with a group of like-minded wine lovers. And of course, to know more about the stories behind the wines and share their views and feelings about the wine. Tonight, we have gathered a group of wine lovers with, of course, Jeannie, our master of wine.
We're just about to venture into a very interesting tasting today. In a blind tasting format, we always taste wines anywhere between 10 to sometimes 20 different wines blind, and we rate them. And this is where a group of wine aficionados, maybe wine geeks even, really can participate in an interesting game where you discover the wines and see really what it is about the wine that you like. Not the label, not the place it comes from, not the producer, but your palate and your taste.
Tonight, this wine tasting is hosted by Jeannie, and they will all be treated with wines from undiscovered regions. Tonight, the wines are from Turkey, Croatia, Hungary, and even Israel.
Well, the Hong Kong Wine Society was formed in 1981 by a group of about 25 people who wanted to find out the quality of wine in Hong Kong. And in those days, we were very concerned about quality because there wasn't much wine in Hong Kong. So every 2 weeks we met and had blind tastings of wine, basically which we found in supermarkets and the very few wine suppliers in those days. Well, I think the lesson that we've really learnt in all these years of tasting wine is that there is enormous difference of opinion. If a wine has people who say it's the best, there's always at least one person who says it's the worst. So that's the main lesson of it, that there's a large difference of opinion about what makes a good quality wine.
Personally, I like wine because I find it is very interesting to have some knowledge about wine, especially how it's produced and where it is produced. And also, there's a lot of historic and cultural element in wine. So that's why I'm interested in wine. It is very interesting in a sense that especially for those wines you have never tried before, and then you can discover the new aroma, new taste, and actually those aromas and tastes can vary widely. Even the wine grapes are the same. So this actually is a process of a discovery. That's why, as academics, I like to discover the new things.
Bernard, Jacques, thank you both for being here today. We have such a treat because we're going to be pairing two different Peking duck courses, one of the favorites all over China, including Hong Kong, of course, with a few wines. And before I do, I know you know each other, but let me make a brief introduction. Bernard Delague is CEO of Golden Group, the wine department, and Jacques Boissier, you are the managing director of a great, foremost food purveyor. And Jacques, you've lived in Hong Kong for a long time as well. So both of you have a wealth of experience with Peking duck, I'm sure. And we have two wines, and these were chosen really to contrast, because they're very different. This is a 2009 Bon from Louis Jadot. And 09 being such a ripe year, this has all the sweet red berry fruit flavors that you'd expect. And the Le Bon Pasteur 1998, thank you for bringing that bottle. Bernard, tell us a little bit about this wine.
You know that it's a wine from Pomerol, and I think it's a wine that that's going to be interesting to evaluate versus the duck.
I like to try it mature, because when the wine is mature, 16 years old is now fully mature, you know, you have a very different tannin texture, you have a very different experience. The flavors are also not aggressive or so strong anymore, and I think that does really make a big difference. I like the meat with a little bit of plum sauce with a burgundy. I appreciate the acidity.
Acidity comes against the fat, definitely. The sugar, I do not know.
That's probably the reason why with Peking duck, Burgundies are often associated because of this acidity that balance the fat of the Peking duck.
So now we have our second course, classic minced duck with lettuce wrap and often enjoyed with the plum sauce. And we have two very different wines again. So we have Lockhart Estate from Central Otago. It's a 2010. The color on this is much deeper than the Bon from Louis Jadot that we just had.
Very intense.
And the acidity is very fresh, so I think with minced duck, it might work well. And we also have the 2005 Aguilla.
First, the most important thing, it's made by a woman.
Oh, so
which
very
is
elegant, I'm
a
sure.
powerful wine made by a woman, and I thought it would be an interesting match with duck. It's a wine which normally you would drink more with a game, so it will be an interesting thing to see if the sauce and the duck can be comparable to game. This
is one of my favorite dishes, actually. And how much plum sauce are you going to put on it? Right? And it has that refreshing crispness of the lettuce, which I like too.
Very interesting. In fact, the Syrah works better than I expected.
Me too, actually. I think a little bit of a competition with the wine. And the wine is trying to dominate, and the food comes back. But not bad. I thought it was going to be
it's less
more
challenging than I expected.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to drink the wine at every sip every time. So you kind of look at what's in front of you, and you say, this is going to match with the duck, this will match with the chicken, this will match with the vegetables, and you kind of experiment and you have fun. And I always say, if you have a hit rate, that means a good match rate in a Chinese restaurant of, let's say, 66%, so 2/3 of whatever is in front of you, then it's a great match.
I will try again another time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you. Thank you.
To explore the world of wine, follow us to France, the quintessential wine region of the world. First, Jeannie and I will head to Bordeaux, the oldest and largest wine growing region. Here, we will visit different chateaus, meet some of the biggest names in the wine world. We will also visit Burgundy, where premium Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are produced. After these trips, you may not be an expert in wine, but at least you'll know how to appreciate your glass of wine better. Behind me is a commemorative monument sculpted by Dumoulin, and it's called the Monument to the Girondins and to the Republic. And it was erected in 1894 to 1909. And in the center, there are three women that represent Bordeaux, the Garonne, and the Dordogne rivers. You will find this monument at the end of the Quincampoix Square in Bordeaux. Now, this monument has a large white column with a Statue of Liberty. Freedom is represented as escaping from slavery, and the lower sculptures represent the triumph of the Republic, history, and local rivers. Now, speaking of this Napoleonic era, did you know that Napoleon Bonaparte III developed the 1855 Grand Cru class classification that's still in use today? And this ranks the top wines here on the left bank of Bordeaux. Beside this monument, we were surprised to find a great group of gents celebrating a Napoleon-themed event. Well, enough of history. The people here today are all dressed in the period clothing of Napoleon. Makes me feel like a journey to the past. Well, let me try and have a chat with Napoleon III, and perhaps share a glass of 1855 Great Grand Cru wine with him. Wouldn't that be something? Anyways, I should stop dreaming now, do the touristy thing, put on my Napoleon military jacket and take a few selfies, and post it online. No matter where you are, what year it is, you always want to look the best you can. And we're here checking out the latest cutting-edge fashions from the 1800s. Napoleon's era. Mademoiselle, can I please try on this jacket? There we go. Ooh, yes. I already feel like a soldier. Napoleon's hat himself. Well, I'm feeling ready for the part. I'm ready to go represent the French. Bonjour. Très bien. Bonjour. Today is an exciting day. We will go inside a cooperage and see how they make wine barrels. The long-standing relationship that wine has had with oak is worth investigating, especially since oak barrels have been used in wine fermentation and barrel aging for centuries. Oak is utilized somewhat like a seasoning to add flavor and palate appeal to a wine. In the world of wine, the wine barrel is a key element in the process of making wine and will actually affect the final outcome and the taste of the wine. Now, here in Bordeaux, we are in one of the world's largest wine barrel factories. So I'm really excited to figure out how this is all done. We're inside the factory, and it's really quite exciting because there's over 80 people here working, and there's lots of machines and lots of loudness. I love it. Here's how it first starts. You get an ordinary piece of French oak. It's normally straight, and then it runs through this massive machine, and the final outcome is a cut, shaped piece of wood that we all recognize as the outside of the barrel. Now here's the step where the barrel starts to take shape. You take 32 to 34 of these oak pieces, and you can see the cooper behind me starting to put all the pieces together, kind of like in a puzzle. And then he finally will get the cable, and it squeezes and compresses the barrel into shape. A second part that's very interesting is after the type of oak is chosen, a winemaker will decide on what degree of toasting is appropriate for the wine style. And this will influence the wine's color, the aroma and flavor, and overall style. Barrel toasting can be light, medium, or heavy, with a lighter toasting retaining some of the oak-based character for the wine, and heavier toasting giving rise to a stronger oak and smoky nuances in the wine.
Okay, the barrel's almost complete. The barrel's taken shape, we have a top and a bottom, all the lids are in place. The final step is the testing. And they put around 10 to 15 liters of water, and they pressurize it, and they make sure it's, sealed, which is very important. If any barrels don't make it, they can go into repair process. And that's very important because the oak is very expensive. And one barrel is over 650 euros. So once the process is done and the testing is done, the barrel's pretty much made. Not only does this factory produce wine barrels, actually the owner has 2 wineries, and he's very clever because he produces all of these really cool little pieces for the home. You got wine holders to, look at this, little mini barrel. It's perfect for your home parties. Now what I really like, look at that, a barrel seat for my house. I wonder if my wife will let me keep it. Probably put it in a man cave.
Château Figeac is a wine estate in the Saint-Emilion appellation of Bordeaux. It is the largest estate in Saint-Emilion with 40 hectares of vineyards. The estate itself is one of the most beautiful and inviting in Saint-Emilion. Imagine a stately and pristine chateau attached to a large park. The grounds alone are worth a visit.
Hello, I'm Hortense Manoncourt, Idouane, and we have the pleasure to own Figeac for 120 years. The family was there, and first of all, Figeac was a residence for holidays. So in this room, you can see the feast, because the wine is something to make pleasure. So we have this tapestry. It's a very old, in fact, not a tapestry, but the painting for a tapestry from Bruegel. It dates from the 17th century. And I love this tapestry because in Figeac we have a lot of traditions, but also we have a lot of modernism. And we love also the nature, and we love the feast, and our aim is to make people have pleasure with our wine, with fine wine, with a tasting they can recognize, and also in the respect of the nature.
Who's the technical director here, and with Hortense Manoncourt-Idouane, who is the owner and multi-generation family property.
Yeah.
So let's taste the wine. You've prepared the 2013, the latest vintage.
Yes, exactly. It's a new baby, 2013. We start with the 2013?
The 2013 was a very difficult vintage. First of all, it was cold, and so the flower was late, and then there was problem with the hail also in the sector. But luckily in Figeac, the hail clouds are always going around and not on. So we are very lucky with the hail.
It has a lot of concentration, and I think that was what made it very tricky to taste when it was so young, because it had this kind of enormous power that
unusual for this vintage.
Yeah, and it's so much more Cabernet.
Yes, it is.
So you can see that it's a slightly different personality in its youth, but you can see that still that the terroir and the character, that elegance still comes through.
So, 01.
The O1.
I remember this vintage because I started as a trainee, I said, and this is the first vintage I tasted in barrel.
Very aromatic, and I know that we just opened it.
Exactly.
It's just opened, and you're still getting so much aroma just on the nose.
Yeah.
It's sweet, it's spicy, it's got wonderful herbs and roasted characters.
It's very complete.
Now we're tasting the 1998 vintage. How does this vintage compare to, let's say, the 2001, which we just tried?
More mature, of course, more expressive with a bouquet
Because of its age or because of the vintage?
Alors both, I think. Both. And specifically in this vintage, Cabernet worked very well.
Why was it so special? Why was it so successful in this vintage?
Due to the weather conditions during the harvest. And we had very good conditions and we could wait for each plot, each variety, more than maybe in the other parts of Bordeaux. So that's the main reason for me.
It is intensely aromatic. It almost jumps out of the glass at you. You don't even have to, it's almost like a perfume at this point. And I want to try this again in 20, 30 years.
Great, come.
Yeah, thank you.